Hi, I'm Simon Isaacs and I lead the commercial and industrial print division at Ricoh UK, and this is our Anything in Print podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We are really glad to have you here because this business podcast series is designed specifically for you, the print community. This show is about bringing you the latest advice, tips and strategies from our network of experts within the print and related industries like marketing, business and finance. It's all about knowledge sharing to help you and your organisations reach your purpose and fulfil your business goals. But before we dive in, remember you can find all of our education video content on our Ricoh Anything in Print series page. Now, let's begin. I'd like to thank Tim Cox from VPress for joining me. We're going to have an informal, hopefully fun and maybe a bit controversial chat about the marketplace as it is. So thanks very much for giving your time up, Tim. And look at where we all are going with the future of commercial print. So Tim, just wondering from your perspective, you know, when I know we've talked about this many times. But when you think back before COVID and where we're going now as a marketplace, you know, what in hindsight has maybe surprised you or not surprised you about what you're currently seeing in our marketplace?
I think in general, by the way, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I think in general, there's just been even against other people's better judgment and those that have resisted, there's just been an acknowledgement that the internet is something that has to play a part in everyone's business. It doesn't matter whether it's print or a creative or an agency or a brand. Yeah, it's not even something that can be debated anymore. So I think from our standpoint, in terms of looking at the market of, I guess, what printers call web to print, what I'd refer to as brand management, or online, it's now become a necessity. There are companies that are not retaining or winning business because they don't have a platform to put it on. So I think, first of all, for a printer to now ignore the fact that they need to have some kind of web offering, whether it's a business to consumer or a business to business, is bordering on lunacy, really. So I think in the past, you know, they might have seen it as a nice to have, but it's now a necessity. And obviously, they're all very different based upon the kind of print entity that you are, or a design entity. But these platforms now are so readily available. The VPress platform is so malleable and able to integrate into pretty much anything up and downstream of itself, from websites to ERP systems and MIS and production workflow, that there are a lot of configurations. But ultimately, I think it's the web. I think it's a realization that digital now has to play a part. I think it's also a realization that customers don't necessarily have to have a printer down the road to get the print done. People are now printing everywhere from at home to abroad, and it's based upon convenience and print price. So I think there's a dramatic shift. The other area is obviously, since everybody's been furloughed, and I'm not talking about just the UK, I'm talking outside of it. A lot of print companies have had to survive either with depleted staff or no staff. So some of those printers have now started redirecting work from web-based systems like ours out to sub-suppliers in the trade market. Some of them are having to look at ways of actually operating with a skeleton staff, which has meant that they've had to look at automation. So there's been money spent by businesses internally to automate the flow of information from the customer into an online platform, from the online platform into an MIS accounts package or something, or into the production workflow and out to the press, which just takes an enormous amount of process out. Yeah. But in doing that, obviously, there's a realization that you can actually do as much as you were doing before with a lot less staff. So there's a downfall.
And I know we were joking with each other before we got on the call about let's say the demographic of our industry, with you and I being on screen here. Do you think, and obviously the internet is you know, newish technology. Do you think any of this is maybe cultural? You know, looking at the generational, you know, of the printer, you know, community.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the BPIF and other organisations throughout the world, I guess the average age is certainly in and over the 40 years, which obviously means that I'm well into that. But sadly, I think that that does play a part. I think also it's even though I don't think printers would ever really want to classify themselves as kind of traditional. I think it is very much a traditional type of industry. It's always been heavily dependent upon high skill sets, long apprenticeships, and specialisms, because the process of print has historically been a very complex one, from knowledge of design and creativity to putting that into a production environment, to all the processes that relate to historically, creating a printing plate, putting it onto the press, managing color, etc., substrates, finishing. It's ridiculously complex. So I think in general, I think the older generation definitely probably still sit that way. I think the older generation also aren't always that savvy with the web outside of kind of traditional uses of the internet at home. And I think that also printers historically, I hate to say, my dad was a printer, so I feel that I can be a little critical, but I think printers have just notoriously been terrible at marketing themselves, having the right conversations with the right people about the right things. And I think they've defaulted to service, speed, cost, reliability, etc., and they've forgotten that the printers don't care. Rarely does someone pick up a piece of print and go, I wonder what that was printed on. You might find they touch it, they might comment on how it looks, it feels, it smells. It's a very tactile, beautiful thing that we deal with, but rarely does anyone give a monkeys where it comes from or what it's printed on or what technique was used. Or that no one cares. So the quicker we get out of that kind of trying to sell people on the fact that you've got a 17-ton lump of metal sitting on a reinforced floor that you have to have the ceiling out to get in, no one cares. They just want to make sure it goes through. So I think the shift has to be more about what can be done, applications, substrates, color, reliability, falling back on the basis of the power of print, that the reliability, the longevity of print in a marketing mix. The marketers out there are now really getting their heads around the fact that print is still, it's not dead. It never was dead. It's just shifting and changing, but it's a massively important part of their mix. Just look at COVID. I mean, I don't know many businesses that have invested in, flat screen displays to tell people to stay away from each other, and don't sneeze in this direction. It's all on print. It's on vinyls that stick to the floor. It's on swing tickets. It's on masks. I haven't seen anyone with a digitally enhanced mask in virtual reality yet. I'm sure it's there one day, but print is massively important. And I think that it's the conversation, understanding marketing, how print fits into the mix, that print isn't its own industry. It's an inextricable linked entity within the communications world, the creative world. So I'm on a soapbox now. I'm sorry, Simon.
It's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant. I mean, it really is about the purpose, because we all get so involved with the widget or whatever it is we do from day to day, whether it's me with a big printing press that I want to talk about, or whether it's the guys that are creating the print and selling it. Rather than talking about the print to an organization, it's talking about the purpose of that print to the organization, to the retailer, to the financial services organization, to the local council, whoever it might be, about what they want to achieve as a business and how it integrates with their other methods of communication, whether it's Google or TV advertising or whatever. Because we all passionately believe in the power of print, but to get that message across, it's not necessary to talk about, as you say, quality and price. It really is about what it can help them to achieve in terms of what they're doing with their customers.
It's a bit, I mean, a lot of what you guys supply, and within the digital print market, whether you're dealing with large or super wide format or cut sheet or inkjet, RealFed, doesn't matter what it is. The engines that are being supplied are incredibly powerful, clever print engines, but realistically, the power comes from the application, and the power comes before the application from the creative process and the thinking that goes into the mix. Now, historically, printers, and I think people forget how bloody clever printers are. They're given the rough end of the stick. Someone will come up with an amazing concept and they'll go sort it. No one gives a flying crap what goes on in the print industry. As long as it can get out the other end in the way that the creatives, came up with it, it's fine. And I think that printers forget that. So, a lot of the time, a creative will keep creating the same thing they've always come up with, unless they've seen something online as they've always done. If a creative spent a little bit of time in a finishing department, understanding what can really be done with cutters, creases, stitches, folders, whatever it might be, or with a digital print engine, and actually understood the security marks, the color capabilities, the applications that can control mixed substrates, I think they're designed differently. Just to turn around to someone and say, have you thought about dropping 3 mil off of that job's design? We could then get 4 up on a sheet, and if we rotated it so that it ran on the sheet, I don't know, horizontally, we can avoid the spine of that fold cracking. People, printers know it. They just know it. So I think that printers need to be bold in and passionate in what they can do. And they need to be able to communicate, not just communicate with probably the people that are placing the orders, but the people that are considering how, the next campaign's going to come. So I think that sometimes it's not even about the application. Sometimes it's about imparting those skills, those ideas, that methodology back into it. Because ultimately, this printer's still using, letterpress. Some beautiful, creative business stationery that is being created now on, terribly old machines that I can remember running in my dad's office. Thompson Crowns and Heidelberg Plattens and things. And they're not just beautiful pieces of machinery, but they really turn out some incredible work, especially when you mix it with digital. So I think we went off the ball there, but yeah.
No, it sort of is off the ball. But when we think about the skills and the passion printers have, we didn't want to accuse them of either being crap at marketing or not being up to date enough to look down the line at the power of the internet. But I think what we're saying is if these guys actually understand what their customers' priorities are and what they're trying to achieve, and add their skills and knowledge to that, then they can add real value. It's just as you can, it's being bold enough to ask those questions and not to accept, the how many do you want, what quality do you need, when do you want it,
race to the bottom.
Race to the bottom. So it is about marketing themselves in a new way and becoming part of that purpose for their customers to add value to their businesses.
Another observation that I guess, because our customer base is very wide and varied, it's like 4,500, 5,000 brands sit on our product, running through it daily, ordering all sorts of stuff from marketing to standard business stationery and non-print. But we've also got printers, print managers, we've got creatives using our product. So we see a real mixed array. I think one of the things that printers also forget is that the people that are placing the orders, and there's no fixed demographic, but they are often in their early 20s. They're in charge of a seriously large spend on behalf of a client they're managing. So it'd be a blue chip business of some description. And they don't have a background in print. They've probably got a degree in law or I don't know, whatever it might be. So they're bright as you can imagine. They're quick to learn. They're also, whether we want to get into the millennials chat is another thing, but their means of communication, their approach to life, their expectation, their career paths, experience, and what they see, what excites them, totally different to someone my age. And I think that printers need to realize that for a 40, 50 something or even older person to have a conversation with a 25, 30-year-old, the dynamics are massively different. And I think, historically in print, you get away with a relationship-based business as long as your price and service was right. Play golf with them, visit them once a week, take them for coffee, whatever it might be. It's gone. It's really gone. So I think that just educating or bringing people that are within the business who are maybe younger into the teams that are customer focused could really, really help. And this is where I've seen the change. When you've engaged someone, no one really needs to know about dot gain or the CMYK value of a sunset or the finishing track of an XYZ ABC finishing engine, because the customer you're communicating with don't care. They don't even understand it. Why would they need to know about color management? It's all done already. It's an AI program. So not wanting to take all that away from people it is important, but it's only important to the printer to produce the product that the client wants. The rest of it is really a communication. Ask the customer why they're producing this document, what's it aimed to do, who are their customers, what products are they selling them, and then talk about the real power of digital. When you start dealing with the power of one, variable data, transactional, trans-promotional, using data and trends and behaviors to identify what really needs to go out to the person you're targeting, rather than sending them a 64-page booklet when there's only 3 items they could ever use. Yeah. Identify it, use incentive reward, gamification to start bringing people in. And this is stuff that's all in the printer's capabilities. I mean, the crazy thing is that we're still the digital boomerang that is the QR code that's lived and died and died and lived, and it's never coming back, but all of a sudden it's now ruling the world for anyone who wants to understand how they can order something off a menu or whatever. There's a use of digital technology of multiple touch points, virtual and physical, and I think that printers just need to embrace this, but understand that their audience is different, very, very different.
Yeah. So, and also, I think I talked about culture. I think it's about bringing people to face off with their clients. So making sure that as they look down the line, they don't just employ people that think the same as them, understand the same things as they do. Just to look down at the people they're facing off with, the marketplaces they're serving, and make sure they have a cultural fit with the people they face off with, the people that are buying these services or driving their brands forward. And we are, I mean, hearing lots in the news, not just in our industry, but in others, about the pressure small, medium businesses are under through COVID, and the marketplaces they serve just simply aren't there in some cases. The bars and pubs that are closed again, using QR codes on menus to drive you to apps to order your stuff from the bar without going. Great fusion of digital and physical, with print being a part of that. But with all these printers and where we are as a marketplace, what do you think that those that are thriving have in common, and maybe that those that are struggling have in common? Is there any trends that you could see for people to really consider and look out for?
There's naturally the fortunate out there, could say lucky, who just happen to be in the right place at the right time with the right type of client, and they haven't really had to do much. And it might be, you got people with fabric printers that are now producing all manner of PPE. You've got people that have cutters that are producing masks for PPE. So, to hit the market running to address that PPE requirement and almost kind of shame the opportunists that decided to stitch up the national health and care homes and hospitals and the rest of it, to go in and show the real value. We've managed quite a few different scenarios with PPE, whether it's signage or physical masks. So yeah, outside of that, because you can't just suddenly wake up when there's a lockdown and expect that you're going to suddenly fast track an 8-week lead time of a press that's going to suddenly address all you need. So there is that. There's also the opportunity that have had the clients but no plant, but they've had the opportunity to start working with trade outlets that could actually get that work fulfilled at the right price to the customers in quick time. So outside of the fortunate, there's the brave, or you could say the stupid. I think they're brave. I like people that are a bit reckless. It's kind of shoot from the hip, foot down, drive through it. And there's been a lot of customers that have done the same thing. And they're the people that have gone back to their customers and they've said, look, we're not going to be in lockdown forever. This is going to end. Yes, we might see an enormous amount of the population infected, sadly die, etc., etc. But the world's going to continue. You're going to continue. If you're hunkering down under that stone, at some point you're going to come out. And when you come out, you got to be ready. So there's been some encouragement from some printers, which has been quite encouraging, really, where they've gone out to their customers and said, let me get you ready. Let me get you ready, not only in terms of signage for your offices and your operations, your shops, your outlets, but let me also start helping you to identify new ways of reaching your clients using this clever thing called print, which is new on the block. to digital printers and digital marketers.
Yeah.
So that's been really good, and they have a lot of these people have started looking at who are their clients. People have had time to reflect. We all have, sadly, I haven't had any time off. So, my house is still the state it was beforehand. So I've not put another lick of paint on the wall. But those people that have also been in the same situation have really been sharpening the axe, but they have sort of sat down and really thought about it. So to turn around to a client and say, let us help you understand who your clients are, what you're selling to them, and how you can utilize a better means of communication. So there's been data projects, and I guess data cleansing is a bit of an overused term, but it's that whole all-encompassing. It's where you're going out with a means of communication to a client, you're understanding more about it, they're in a vulnerable state, they're reaching out for help, and there's very people that are actually giving. Most people are taking right now, and I think that's where printers have won out. Certainly those that I've dealt with. Charities, depleted, like beyond all measure. Some of them are drying up to the point that they could literally stop, which is, a lot of people forget how important it is to have charities in the UK. And yeah, sometimes their spend's a bit suspect and a bit questionable because of why they do things, but realistically, they're there to serve us, but where they're needed, and they rely upon people. So, I've had other guys that have looked at inventory that they hold, what has worked, how hasn't worked, how they can better source, managing warehousing, rationalizing it. These charities are all over the place, and most of them are small. Their chairman is their marketing manager and is their financial officer, and they are also the post room. So to put in software to show different ways of dealing with things and getting a bigger bang for your buck's helped. Industry in general's changed. Whether you're dealing with the automotive, the retail, they're all looking for ways of changing things. They're shutting offices down. People are now working from home. How can I deal with it from home? And I know that we're probably talking about the digital print engines, but when you look at an organization like Ricoh with such a scale of services, when you think that you could supply someone with a little home-based multifunctional printer right the way through to something that would literally, you could run the print for a small country, right the way through to organizing, decking out IT infrastructure, office environments, and all the consultancy that goes within it, that there really isn't anyone that you can't help now. And I think what we've seen, and I know some of your customers have seen, is where they've gone from managing everybody through traditional print rooms and a traditional print network to actually accommodating customers that now can't get to a print room or a print network by implementing an online service like the core print system. So I think that there's winners and losers. I think that the scary thing is there have been, and no offense if anyone's watching this, it falls into the bracket, but shame on you if you do. They've allowed the furlough to create a sleepy environment through necessity or will, whatever it might be, and that's not for me to judge really. But they're now we're now in the second lockdown, but they came out of that first lockdown and they went back to their client base and found out that their client base couldn't get the work done by them because they'd shut down. They've now put it elsewhere. Or they've got clever and they've started working with online retailers of trade print services or whatever it might be. So the printers are now sitting there going, well, not only have we gone into lockdown and we've now, I've now got a depleted business, so I've actually lost those customers. And when those customers go into an online system, very rarely do they come off it. It's kind of it's almost like an unwritten contract. No one commits them to it, but they just get so used to using it. Then there's the people in another I guess bracket who've fought the good fight. They've really tried, and they've had to, because the business levels have dropped so heavily. All flatlined. They've kept a skeleton staff, and that skeleton staff have tried their damnedest to keep the business going. And then as the business has started coming back after that flatlining, they've obviously stepped up. They've realised they've reached capacity, but the revenues aren't coming to the business to support bringing people back. So they've looked at ways of automating. And these are things that historically have been shelf-based, observations. They've kind of just sat there. No one's wanted to do it. Now, all of a sudden, we need an MIS. That production workflow that we talked about, that meant that no one in production needed to touch an incoming job. We need that. Put it in. Whether it's an on-focus switch or something along those lines, or a callus, that kind of thing, it doesn't matter. It all of a sudden does the work of many. Automating triggered barcoding that might sit in the bleed of a finishing device to automate the setup linking your digital press network through, a command workstation network of hot folders that's linked to an MIS or the production workflow, that is in turn linked to the web to print, that is in turn linked on a single sign-on or a full-blown integration punch out with a third-party system like Salesforce or Coupa or Oracle or SAP. And all of a sudden, they can actually row the boat that took 16 people at the oars with 2 people at just, and just do it that way. And I think that now what's happening is that they're now looking at the structure of their business, that they've been forced to streamline, they've been forced to rationalize, and unfortunately, the negative, sad byproduct is a loss of jobs or a replacement of someone's position into another part of the business.
Yeah.
So, it was a bit of a rant, but it's a really big thing that if people aren't doing it, they really need to start looking at it. And I know you guys have got a team of individuals that I work closely with who can qualify, recommend, oversee and on board, install and support these types of things. A customer doesn't have to have skills in the web or in workflow or in MIS. It can all be done for them. So I think it's important. And if they haven't started, start. And there are systems that go from ridiculously high and, it's like replacing your nervous system, to things that are just very, very simple plugins that will save 15 minutes here. That's a repetitive task 27 times a day. It's all money. It's hidden grey costs that they're doing away with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we look at it, I mean, my chief exec loves talking about being quick or dead. You've just talked about those that are either lucky, stupid enough to shoot from the hip and make an investment, which I love the brave, or those that have evolved, that have looked and evolved. And you've either, if you're not lucky, brave enough to do something because it feels right and it looks right, or evolve when you see things happening, you are going to be dead. I think that is the truth of it. So when we look at it in that context, I mean, what would you say to those customers who are putting it off or saying not right now, or the time's not right to do something because of COVID? I mean, it's a great excuse, isn't it? I can't do anything because of COVID. You've just mentioned if someone's going to move your cheese, if by the time you come back there to pinch your customers, they'll be gone. So for those that are putting it off, I mean, what would you say in terms of what should they do?
Well, I think first of all, what you've just referred to is in Who Moved My Cheese. Great book. Anyone who's sitting there contemplating a strange future that's just changed, read it. You'll get through it in 2 hours. Great book, but and a host of other great business books. I think that it's a difficult one because I refer to it as flat earth thinking. That's probably a bit of an insult, really, given that there are still parts of the world that believe it. I think that there are some people that unfortunately will never change. It is that, again, on a print level, there's always going to be a bracket of individuals my age and older who've probably, they own their building, they own their presses, they've got a fairly decent lifestyle, their life is sorted, they're doing the work because it provides a great income, it provides great people with great jobs, and they love it, they love the industry. There's a lot of those people that are sitting there going, do you know what, I don't really need to change, I don't really want to invest in another X, Y, and Z. I'm not really into that. Yeah, it'll be fine. Unless they are so close, or they've got some really sought after real estate or land that their real estate sits on, man alive, I would be very, very scared right now, because this isn't waiting. This is going to hit like an avalanche. And I don't think that we're even seeing it yet. If you talk to the BPIF, IPIA, any of these organizations, PICOM, predictions of change, as in workforce in this industry, is drastic. There was a consortium of individuals that were a mixture of the industry bodies that came together and sent a directive to the government warning them that if we are, as they say, the 7th largest employer in the UK, which I guess is the same across the world, do something to help this industry. And, that's been met with a number of suggestions and ideas. I don't know how far through we are, but I think if I was one of those people, I would wake up. You know, this is you know, at best, that thinking will leave their business mortally wounded, and that's not a nice state to be in. The government, for all of their faults, and I will be the first person to get onto the bandwagon of having a political chat and my disappointments at our lovely government. But there are CBILIS schemes out there. There are funding schemes out there. They are easy to apply for. They are low interest. They are no payment for 12 months. You know, they're out there. I know companies that have taken an enormous amount of money. There is still money left in things like the LEPs, the local enterprise partnership funds, which again you can source. Yeah, depending upon where you are in the country, there will be different levels of support and hurdles to go through. But there is money out there to support Business Directive, and most of those will support a business that is looking to increase staff and give new opportunities, enter new markets, or be positive in as a business in a depleted, you know, in a bad area, or if they're looking to create new jobs. There's the Kickstarter scheme, which is currently being, I think, rolled out by the IPIA and the BPIF, which is funding, you know, okay, it's a bit unfair because it's 26-year-olds and under, which kind of forgets a lot of the people that are now facing, you know, job cuts and redundancies and the rest of it. But there are a number of these schemes out there. So I think, you know, this is a really good time for a business to sharpen the proverbial axe, as in, you know, Aesop's fables. And you know, and if you're not doing that, you are going to punch forward with a proverbial blunt axe, which is not going to really help you to survive, but it certainly won't help you to compete. There are some very, very sharp, lean, hungry, forward-thinking businesses that aren't afraid to take risk. That they're not massively well funded, but they are going at it. And when I say aggressive, I don't mean in a negative sense. I just mean they are not going to stop. They are relentless and to be admired. So I think that bring the teams together, talk to them about observations, where opportunities could come from. Try a few things. You know, you've got to kiss a few frogs in this world before you find the proverbial prince. And, you know, I think it's the same with business opportunities. They might try masks. Everybody would go, oh, I'm not doing that because that's mass market. Yeah, it is. But, you know, it's not always first mover that wins. You know, there's an enormous market here for an enormous amount of products that can be produced and marketed out. Environmentally, we still are the most environmental industry. You know, everybody moans about the print industry and trees. We're planting more trees than anyone as an industry, and you know, we recycle and we are environmental. Chemicals that are used, you know, it's not like in the 70s where you could drop a match down a drain in London and the whole place would go up because of press chemicals. It's clean, you know, that's if chemicals are used. So I think right now, get up off your laurels and start fighting. You know, and if you don't, then you're going to let yourself, your business, and your staff down. But right now, forget how desperate it is for you as a print business. Think about how desperate it is for your customers. They're really looking for ideas, and don't underestimate what you have in your noodle. You know, there's a lot of really clever stuff. There's a lot of intellectual property sitting in a printer's mind within the print operation that could streamline a business's spend. Talk about, don't go out and sell them 50,000 brochures. Talk to them about personalizing 5,000 brochures, reducing the waste, you know, get the punch points through. There are a lot of things there. And I mean, we do, you know, I mean, on a daily basis, I reckon I have as many business development conversations, consultative approaches, as I probably do selling conversations, as I know you do, and I know your teams do. And I think engage your customers. You know, we're as keen to get customers going as they are. And, you know, bleed us. That's what we're here for. You know, we'll help. No matter who your vendors are, work with them. It's a difficult one, Son, because, you know, you don't know what you don't know.
We don't, but sometimes people forget what they do know. And as you said, we're all great at not sharpening the axe because we're too busy hitting the tree with the blunt one. But yeah, now is the time to really have a look at it. And you've just mentioned, remove the barriers, remove the excuses. There is money out there. There are, the government schemes. There are local authorities and people looking to help. There's great advice out there. There's a wealth of webinars. Some of them are brilliant, like this one. Some of them are probably, not so good. But we've got the AIP series with lots of different discussion topics. You guys have got your Crown Pub. There's loads of things out there. And what's really good is we often sit at the end of something that happens and then we're giving it to print. But by doing that, we've got a load of great stories in our head about how we might have helped this customer, or how the campaign drove that retail campaign forward, or how we helped the council government go online to do this with print. All this stuff is sitting in these customers, these printers' heads. They know how printers influence. And if they thought, if they took those messages to the people, as you said, that are struggling, with some innovation, with online, tools to help do it, with streamlined processes to get it through at a different cost, with personalization, there's a massive amount in these people's heads that can help the world, evolve and come out of this.
Yeah, I think so.
And I was going to come on to how all this is connected. Sometimes people think I need to digitize, they'll go and buy a digital press. And I'm sure myself or my counterparts at Canon's, wherever else, don't want to put them off coming and buying a digital press. But it's all connected, isn't it? This whole workflow. You can't just take a litho press and put a digital press, cross your arms and go, I'm done now. It's all going to work.
The amount of people that I know who've gone out and bought something, a wide format digital press or whatever, and you go, that's fantastic. What are you going to do with that? And they say, well, everybody's getting into wide format now. Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Well, we might do some canvases, might do some pop-up. Right, that's a bit innovative. And you just think, why haven't you thought about this? You're just investing thousands and thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds in a big lump of grey stuff that sits, in a corner, and you're going to walk your customers around it. Why haven't you built a plan around it? How long is it going to be until it pays itself off? What can you do with it? Where can those applications, substrates and services that product, that company can offer, where can you apply it? Have you set up to organize the whole of your team to come in and really understand it? Because the amount of people I know they only ever show new tech to the studio and production team. You think they might have a salesperson in to look at the press, and they'll see it, feel it, touch it, and that'll be it. But that'll all they'll do. Make these people run it. Get your service team in. Anyone who touches the customer, it could be a delivery person. Bring them in. Show them what you do. I have this conversation with friends and family. Everybody knows a business owner. Now that business owner may not run GlaxoSmithKline, but they might run a window cleaning service, or a small market shop, or a nail parlor. It could be anything. It might not be a massive business. They're still using print. They're still going to benefit from an applied conversation from someone knows that, the industry, what can be done. Have those conversations. And I think the other problem that people do, apart from investing in a bit of press and, as you say, sit there and go, well, better start working it now. Best you go out and start selling that. No one's got a clue. You don't just suddenly absorb this through your skin and know what you're going to do. So I think the other thing is sometimes, instead of trying to go out and sell, go out and share it. Go and have a conversation with the customer. Sit down and just say, look, or get them on Zoom or whatever your weapon of choice is in this lockdown, and just say, look, I just want half an hour of your time. I need to tell you what we're doing, what some of our customers are doing, what I think might be of benefit to you. I'm sure that you're contemplating different ways of doing things. Let's have a half an hour share. You tell me, I'll tell you, and sit there and say that we've made a massive investment over the last year, 2 years, last 6 months, or we're about to make an investment in a load of new equipment. I want you to know what it can do. We're learning as well, but we'd like to learn with you. We've bought this finishing equipment and it does that. This digital press can do this. We've got this thing called web to print. You won't know that. You'll know it as a place to put all of your marketing collateral. Why would you want it? Well, all those people working from home can get access to all the collateral. No one's got to worry about going down to the stationery cupboard or raise print orders. It's all there. We can fulfill on our behalf, la, la, la. So I think sometimes to have those conversations without selling on an educational basis builds a relationship. Customer feels that they're being helped, and you're being supportive. and have that conversation. Don't keep selling hard, because everyone's in the same boat. Yes, there are industries that are, as we started off, that are flying because they're fortunate, or they're just adaptable, because that all this phrase about survival of the fittest is absolute bullshit. It's survival of the most adaptable. This is a time now for someone to just be flexible. You want to be that Swiss Army knife. Any cliched object that's adaptable, just throw it in there, because it's going to be the same. And that you just have to be. And don't say no. Take the business on. Don't be traditional and go, oh, we only do this. This is the only kind of, we specialize. Take it all. Because if you're not taking it all, someone else will. There are plenty of people out there you can partner with, whether it's creative, photography, internet, trade print, any kind of finishing services. If it's an international business, work with a foreign company based in Germany. There's a lot of companies based in America. We helped with your help. We had a customer that was working with a very large online retailer who resemble the name of a famous river,
Yeah.
and they needed to get a load of work done in Asia Pacific. Well, this printer is a UK printer. He didn't know that stopped them. They basically outsourced it to one of your customers because the print was being done on Ricoh engines, and they wanted consistency, reliability, blah, blah, blah. So you guys opened up, I think we identified Hong Kong was the right place. You open it up, bang, jobs going through there, all fulfilled. Now, that printer's never going to open up an operation in Hong Kong. Well, might do. You never know. I doubt it with China taking over, but hey, this is the thing. Don't say no. Find a solution and stop being what you've always been, because you'll always be what in the future. Nothing will change. You'll always be that, and the world's not going to support what it used to.
We have touched on a lot of subjects, and part of it is really to get the message to customers, in a format that they can digest in a way, when it's convenient. But that they won't get all the answers from this type of call, but the answers are out there, and it's about talking to people who've experienced it. It's about talking to you guys, us, other suppliers. There are a few out there. Luckily, we've got a very close industry. I know my counterparts at Canon and HP and Xerox. And there's a lot of good people out there, and they will spend some time talking to you about how other people have done this. And also for organisations like Ricoh and VPress, we serve corporate marketplaces, we serve government marketplaces. So when the commercial print marketplace discusses maybe a retail challenge or a corporate financial services, what I used to print for these, what are they doing? We actually serve those customers directly as well as indirectly, and we have a vested interest to help our commercial printers serve them better and serve them well, because there's a pull there. So have those conversations with us, have those conversations and see where those ideas may come from. But you are right. It is about spending some time to look to the future and evolving, adapting your business and planning to do it. And with all the cliches, a bad plan is better than no plan at all.
Absolutely.
And I thought I'd check that one in as well, because if you just sit there and hope nothing's going to change, well, in the last 6 to 9 months with COVID, even for us as an organisation where we've got lots and lots of printers in organisations and offices that are in central London that are closed, we always knew, and we've known for years, people are going to share information in different ways, and our business has evolved to digitally print products and to make sure the business keeps growing. But it's really accelerated what we knew was happening, and online collaboration, the internet, remote working, using print in different ways. What we thought was going to happen in 2 to 3 to 4 years happened in 3 months. And if we hadn't started to evolve 3, 4, 5 years ago, really start to evolve with our purpose and where we're going, we'd be really struggling as an organisation now. So I've firsthand seen how important it is, not just to look down the road, but to make sure you've got people around you have the ability to help you do that, have the ability to really understand what these new technologies are and how your technology can dovetail in with that to add value in new ways. And I think print's very powerful and can certainly do that. I mean, thinking about obviously closing off now, if you were to give a final bit of advice to the people out there that might be looking to this for some inspiration in what to do next, I mean, what would that be?
I think it depends upon the business and where they are now. I was going to say now we're out of lockdown, but now we're back in it. But you know, if we just assume that we're going to come out of the lockdown as our wonderful government promises, I think just whatever kind of operation you are, just don't, as a business owner, think that you've got to have and that you do have all the answers. You know, get your team together, ask the young people within the business, if you are an older business owner, what they would recommend, what they've seen. You know, I often say whenever I go into a customer and, you know, I've got to sit and have a chat with, yeah, often we'll put a solution in, and yeah, it'll be understood by the tech or the studio or whoever it might be, and maybe the owners of the business have got the business reasons for it to come in. But there's often a need to talk to the sales teams and the customer focus parts of the business about what it is, you know. So, you know, using old cliches about hunting and whatnot. I mean, a lot of the time, a lot of people don't actually know the prey has changed. You know, they've got to go out and hunt differently with different weapons in different places. They have to deal with what they're doing in a different way. And I think that sometimes you just have to do that. So sometimes it's actually, you know, don't dismiss people because of age, of position in the company. And when I say position, I don't mean in hierarchy, I mean in placement, where they are in the business. Bring them all in, you know, and talk to everybody about it. Talk to everybody about what they've seen, what they've observed. And I think take a collaborative view, take all the good ideas, get a team together of mixtures between the business or departmentally across the business, and bring them together and start forcing change in your business. Get comfortable with feeling a little awkward, a little bit out of your depth. You know, it can be scary, and I understand that. You know, we all go through it in life, and we all bite off more than we can chew. But you know, it's I guess if you look at it in a different way, it's actually very liberating. And when you come through the other side, and yeah, you might have, in that kissing frog scenario, you might have gone through a couple, but when you come through and you get a win, whether that's a client or a change of direction or possibly a new offering, whatever it might be, elation comes in because you suddenly realize it's great. But you know, I think talking to customers, go out and talk to them, find out how they've found it, how their business has been affected. You know, what do they need to do, what they realize they don't need to do. You know, you've got businesses that I'm sure have had 3 offices up and down the country, and you had a massive print contract supplying all of these people with everything from signage to internal documentation and sales aids. They've shut down now. They've got one head office that they're probably running with a skeleton staff, and they've realized that of the people that have probably stayed with the business, why would they bring them back into the business? You know, they can run remotely. So now you've got to find a way of getting the work to these individuals. And these individuals don't want to stock 5,000 brochures in their garage or in their spare room or under the bed if they're in a flat in the middle of London. You know, they actually only want 12, and they want them, you know, singularly, or they might want to print them on a little engine locally. So I think just realise, as you said, Simon, quite right, the world has changed, and woe betide anybody who doesn't acknowledge that. And even more so, anyone that thinks we're going back to where we were.
Yeah.
Because even, no, I just, honestly, I despair. Sometimes I turn to people and you just think, are you bonkers? You know, this world is not going back to where it was. Yeah, some things we'll all still go back up the pub and we'll still entertain, we'll still have meals, we'll still date, we'll do all the things we used to. But people aren't going to do everything the same way. You know, most of the world has got used to actually managing their life via the internet, whether it's on things like this, where a couple of guys get together and just talk about things that are passionate to them, and let's hope there's at least one person who watches. But other people are using it just to, you know, for mental health issues, keep families together. Yeah. Doctors are consulting on it. You know, I had a physio about 4 months ago on a bloody Zoom call. Work that one out. You know, it is crazy. But I think that yeah, just acknowledge the world's not changed, but that there isn't any right or wrong way. I just think try everything and try everything now. And if you're strapped for budget, try and find a way of raising it. That there is money out there. It is cheap at the moment, and some of it's free. Partner up with companies. Talk to your local friends, even foe, or if you can't, talk to someone out of the area. Talk to agencies, talk to creatives, talk to internet-based companies. Talk to your end customer. I mean, it goes back to that, fail to plan scenario. If you don't know what your customers are doing on the other side of this, how the hell are you going to serve them? You can't keep going back to them and going, well, price for another 5,000 brochures is X. It's mental. So yeah, I think that there is no magic wand here. There really isn't. And I think that even if there were, I think you wouldn't know what to wish for, because we don't know where we're going.
No, and like you rightly said, and I guess as I wrap up, it would be to go out and be brave, or stupid. Be prepared to make some mistakes. Whatever you do in this world of digital, be sure the world will go digital eventually. Might not be next year or the year, but eventually.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world will be digital, everything. So you've got to get on that journey. So whatever you do in this space, you will learn. You will learn about how going digital and how it's all linked, all the way through. So whatever you will take out of it, and maybe you will, miss the mark slightly. Maybe you'll make some mistakes, and you'll build up your knowledge, and that will help you to evolve and survive. And I think that's the way it's got to be. Reach out to your partners to do that. Leverage their knowledge where you can. If you don't have to create the wheel yourself, use a wheel that's already been made and someone knows how to do it. But work out how you're going to use that in your niche to add value to your customer base in new ways. And I think that's the way these organizations will prosper and survive.
I mean, one of the things that I've seen as well, that there are some companies that don't have the opportunity or the client base to go out and sell or go out and have those conversations. There is a way of not necessarily winning new business to make more money. You can actually look at your internal operation, and you don't have to be a lean Six Sigma ninja warrior, who can, who's got Prince 2 and can, do all of the clever things with projects. Become a job. Get a clipboard and a stopwatch or your watch. Just go in. Look at your processes, time them, work out where there's snarl ups, work out where there's conflict, work out where there's miscommunication. That's a human change. That can be done really quickly. Sort that out. Look where there's repetitive tasks, automate it. Bring in a system like an MIS, a production workflow. Change your accounts package, go online, take a SaaS system in like Avanti. It's a cloud-based architecture. Use it. These things are pay as you go, so you don't have that massive implementation cost. Yes, you do pay a lot of money for it. Yes, they are expensive, but man alive, if you where those grey costs are against manual, repetitive, or error-based processes, and you can eliminate them through automation, integration, sticking two things together that weren't designed to go together, you'll find that you can actually offset a very clear return on investment. And the return on investment might be 6 months, it might be 6 years. But if you're going to be in business for 10 years, who cares if it takes 6 years to pay off? In 6 years, you're going to be running free of that cost. That is bottom line profit. And we all know about the arguments about turnover versus profit and madness and all the rest of it. But ultimately, you actually survive just by automating your business. And I'm not talking about automate to get rid of people. I'm talking about automating to bring costs back. To bring profit back in that is going out on unnecessary costs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just dropped the phone. I got a bit excited and caught my headphone there.
That was your black belt ninja.
That was me doing this kind of, I'm emphasising that I'm passionate. Unfortunately, I am. So I just got to stop the arms moving.
And hopefully the audience has felt the passion, and it gives them the inspiration to go and look at some of the other content in your Crown Pub series, AIP, and what else is out there. But just to really make it happen for themselves, look to the future and make it happen for their customers, to safeguard what they're doing and to get their knowledge out there in ways that resonate with their customers and are meaningful in this new world. So we'll wrap it up there and hopefully see our customers face to face soon.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to have a chat about any of what's fallen out of my mouth in the last however long it's been, contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. You can dial my mobile. More than happy to help. I do not have the answer to all the questions, but within the team and the people that we know, among ourselves and Rico, that there'll be the answer that you probably need to execute whatever plan you come up with.
Right. Thanks very much, Tim.
Good to see you, Simon. Take care.
Cheers,
and thanks for listening, anyone who's there.
That's a wrap for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this episode informative. If so, make sure you subscribe to all of our upcoming episodes and let us know any feedback you may have. You can also connect with myself and my guests on our Anything in Print series page.